what I want to talk about is really important. The first and foremost, we need to understand what's happening, because that case right there. I mean, I saw it today. I think it's perfect. There's a difference between tax evasion and tax avoidance. Tax evasion is illegal. You'll go to jail. You go to federal prison if you evade taxes. Evasion is you structured your affairs and operated your business in a certain manner to where a tax is incurred. You've operated the business or businesses in a manner by which it incurred taxes. So there's a taxable event. Tax avoidance is setting up your affairs, your legal affairs, in a way to where the manner and structure and administration necessarily avoids taxation. Now, this case right here, I could just tell you off top. That, he paid some promoter to set up his structures. I think that was the first mistake. If you're going to pay anyone, you need to pay these people to teach you how to do this stuff yourself. Please understand what I'm telling you. First and foremost. Second of all, he didn't properly execute the exchange, creation, the inception, creation, execution, exchange, and appointment of administrators for the business trust. What he was attempting to do is not illegal, but he just ended up doing what he was attempting to do in an illegal fashion, didn't correct himself, started talking about I'm not a U.S. citizen and I'm sovereign and I'm not subject to tax. That was after they gave him a bill, after they told him, no, you owe this tax bill. That's the problem. You need to set up your affairs effectively the first time. Operate effectively with clean hands and arm's length. Period. A lot of people don't know the difference between evasion and avoidance, and that's cool, And you read this stuff, you see stories like this, and if you don't know any better, it would completely scare you away from private trusts. 100%. But I'm here to tell you, you're dealing with people who don't understand what they're doing, and they're messing up, and their failures are promoted and heavily broadcast to deter anyone else. He challenged his tax assessments in U.S. Tax Court and the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. Both affirmed he owed the IRS unpaid taxes. There was obviously an issue in administration. So private business trust versus private family trust. Let's just get into some distinctions, right? Because there's a difference between a business trust and other trust, a family trust, an asset trust, a generation skipping trust, a charitable trust. There's over 80 different types of trust. So I want to get into specifically 100% what this is. So I am reading from a document. If you would like this document sent to you for free, all you have to do is email secretary at welcometothefoundation.com, and this document will be sent to you free of charge. Just put in the subject line, show document, November 17th. You don't have to say hi. You don't have to say hello. You don't have to say peace. You don't have to say anything. But if you like this document, that's what you're going to have to do. Otherwise, if you can't follow simple directions, I don't know what to tell you. Secretary at welcometothefoundation.com. The Unincorporated Business Trust, or the Unincorporated Business Organization Trust, is an organization born out of common law. It is different from a statutory trust in that it is a contractual business contract that has 100% legal ownership of assets vested in the trust. Whereas the more common statutory trust arrangements usually Legal ownership is vested in the trustee, and equitable ownership belongs to the named beneficiaries. And that's common. Statutory trusts as well as private, like family trust, it would be very similar. Business trust is not like that. The UBO, or unincorporated business organization, has beneficial interest certificate holders rather than beneficiaries. And I want y'all to think of this, the best way to picture a business trust and how it functions and how it's structured is to kind of try to picture a corporation. All right? So look, the beneficial interest certificate holders have no equitable ownership and only restricted rights under the contract. So unlike shareholders in a corporation, where shareholders in a corporation have the right to vote and they have a right to share in the direction and in the decision making of the company, beneficial certificate holders with regards to a business trust do not have that. They don't have any authority. They don't have any rights. They don't have any power. They are entitled to a pro rata share of any trust distributions during the life of the trust and a pro rata share of any distributions upon the termination of the trust. That's all they're entitled to. And that's if the trustees decide to. However, since trustees have total discretionary power, they can decide if and when to ever make a distribution. The beneficial interest certificate holders can only hold certificates and wait for such a decision or distribution from the trustees. And this is important because this is a rather weak position of the beneficial interest certificate holders is very important because it frustrates the Internal Revenue Service in their attempts to immediately tax exchanges of appreciated capital assets into the unincorporated business organization. And this is right here, this is what I'm thinking that this guy had a problem with. My man, y'all, you should look him up. Robert Andrew Lund of Lebanon, Oregon. They put this man on blast all throughout the world, man. But I believe that he was already operating a business, right? He already had business. He already had businesses, more than likely. And his issue, in my, I would say, educated opinion, would have been how he set up the trust structures. Because only way a trust can be pierced, the veil of a trust can be pierced, is by improper administration, self-dealing, or commingling the assets. It doesn't sound like he did that because he had his father and others who were in control. So the inception or the creation of the trust must have been challenged. That's it. I've studied enough Supreme Court cases to know. So when he tried to arrange his affairs to where he couldn't incur a tax obligation is where he fell short. And his guru or whoever charged him $30,000 to set his estate up did not help him, but it was an offshore trust promoter. You know, I get a lot of these people, the trust is foreign. How is the trust foreign? Because it's in Jamaica. I'm hanging up on you. You don't understand what type of foreign concept that is being discussed when we're talking about private trust. It's foreign to the legislature. It's foreign to state statutes. It exists under the common law right to contract. It's protected by the U.S. Constitution. If you say it's foreign, then it falls under some other government authority. But you must be specific in your communication. It's foreign in the sense that it is not governed by state statute. It's foreign to statutory authority, regulation, creation, and destruction. Period. The IRS is always going to look to immediately tax exchanges of appreciated capital. An exchange or sale would normally trigger a taxable event, but the actual date of the event is not yet determined. Thus, the certificates are used to create an exchange of equal but indeterminable value. That is, the exchange of assets for certificates is deemed an equal exchange. But because there's no public market that can put a value on the certificates for tax purposes, and since the beneficial interest certificate holder won't receive any distribution or money or profits until later, at the discretion of the trustee, the exchange also must be viewed as having an indeterminable value. Since the certificates have no marketable value and receipt of any profits is at some unknown time in the future, the IRS is prevented from taxing the beneficial interest certificate holder on any profits at any time of the exchange. In such a case, the IRS must also wait. According to court documents, in the mid-1980s, after working for several years as a computer engineer and a programmer for the Hewlett-Packard Company, Lund moved to Oregon and started a private computer consulting company called Lund Performance Solutions. LPS's clients included large businesses, school districts, healthcare companies, and other companies located throughout the United States. In 1993, so we're going from the mid-80s to 1993. In 1993, Lund paid $30,000 to an offshore trust promoter to establish layers of trust to hide his LPS profits from the IRS. From 1994 to 96, despite LPS being highly profitable, Lund reported almost no income on his personal income tax returns. Soon after, the IRS audited Lund and determined he owed more than $2.7 million in taxes plus penalties. He didn't survive the audit. The reason why he didn't survive the audit is because when he restructured, he did it improperly. Oh, the trust is foreign. It's offshore. Good luck with that. There are ample court cases and or citations to support the tax treatment of an exchange. In Burnett versus Logan, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that if property received in exchange has no fair market value, it does not represent taxable gain to the recipient. So, I'm assuming, through my educated hypotheses, that this man improperly restructured his business, and instead of hearing the IRS and fixing the way in which he made a mistake, he became belligerent, uncooperative, stopped filing returns, and basically saying that he's not a U.S. citizen. There was already a tax assessed to him. They're already saying you owe taxes. He attempted to evade the taxes by challenging his citizenship, by not reporting income, by using untaxed profits to purchase land, and so on and so forth. A trust properly set up, properly funded is not, I've read many cases where very similar behavior, but different, but similar, was held up. So one of the most important devices by which individuals may combine their resources to operate a business for profit is the so-called Unincorporated Business Trust, or Massachusetts Trust, which may be comprehensively defined as an unincorporated business organization created by an instrument by which property is to be held and managed by trustees for the benefit and profit of such persons as may be or may become the holders of transferable certificates evidencing the beneficial interests in the trust estate. Such an organization has been frequently termed a common law trust, but this phrase is not descriptive of any of the particular characteristics of such an organization. The basis for the terminology common law trust is not that such organizations are creatures of the common law, as distinguished from equity, but they are created under the common law of contracts and do not depend upon any statute from any state. Business trusts are excluded from the coverage of the restatement of the law on trust, wherein it is pointed out that the business trust is a special kind of business association and can be best dealt with in connection with other business associations. Under the Uniform Commercial Code, the term organization, unless the context requires other, is defined to include a business trust. The United States Supreme Court has thus defined the Massachusetts trust as a form of business organization common in that state, consisting essentially of an arrangement whereby property is conveyed to trustees in accordance with the terms of an instrument of trust to be held and managed for the benefit of such persons as may, from time to time, be holders of transferable certificates issued by the trustees, showing the shares into which beneficial interests are divided. So a business trust is just that. It's a private structure that is created to do business with, to carry on a business. This would be in contradistinction to a family trust. Business trusts typically have transferable certificates. The certificates can be transferred. Similar to corporate shares, you can transfer corporate shares. You can sell your stocks in a company. A family trust, the beneficiary certificates are non-transferable. If a beneficiary passes away or renounces their beneficial status with the trust, that certificate becomes null and void. It is destroyed. When a new heir to the family name is born, the trustees of the family trust will cause to be created a beneficiary certificate specifically for that heir. For the family trust, the beneficiary certificates, in contradistinction to certificates of beneficial interest. The beneficiary certificates in a family trust are non-transferable. The certificates of beneficial interest in a business trust, most of the time, are transferable. It's a big difference right there. In its typical and characteristic form, such a trust is brought into being by declaration of trust, by the terms of which persons desiring to invest capital agree to the creation of a governing group of trustees, vest the latter with title to the property of the enterprise and with the control and management of its business, with provisions for transferable certificates evidencing the interest of each beneficiary or member for the existence of the trust for a certain period without dissolution or termination by the death, insanity, or bankruptcy of any member, and usually for freedom of the members or shareholders from liability of third persons. Similar to a corporation or LLC, the shareholders or the stockholders of a corporation are not liable for the debts of the corporation. So if I'm on Target property and I slip and fall and I hurt my back and my neck, I can sue Target, but I can't sue the shareholders of Target. You follow what I'm saying? That doesn't always happen with other organizations, but that is the case with an unincorporated business trust. Business trust organization, they are an adaptation of the ordinary trust to a new purpose of carrying on a business enterprise. It is governed by the principles of equity relating to trusts generally, concerning which it has been said of all exploits of equity, the largest of the most important is the invention and development of the trust. It is an institute of great elasticity and generality, as elastic and general as a contract. This method of conducting a commercial enterprise is said to have originated in Massachusetts as a result of inability to secure corporate charters for acquiring and developing real estate without a special act of the legislature. This type of organization has reached its fullest development and most extensive use in that state, hence the name Massachusetts Trust. It has been said this type of organization, commonly denominated Massachusetts Trust, originated because of the hostility of some states towards corporations and out of the desire to secure some of the advantages of the corporation without incurring the burdens and restrictions thereto. Undoubtedly, this consideration is largely responsible for the great development of business trusts. It is no mere coincidence that their widest use and popularity have been contemporaneous with the increase in the regulation and taxation to which corporations have been subjected. So basically, the more you tax and regulate corporations, the more you're going to see business trusts. Although business trust is a characteristic product of the modern industrial era, and the jurisprudence on this subject has grown up largely during the last 50 years, the law reports contain several instances of the use of this form of commercial enterprise more than a century ago. An unincorporated business organization trust, the object is not to hold and conserve a particular property with incidental powers as in the traditional type of trust, but to provide a medium for conducting business and sharing in business gains. Thus, a trust may be created by which persons become associated for dealing in real estate, the development of trusts for land, the construction of improvements, and the purchase, management, and sale of properties for dealings in securities or other personal property, or for commerce or other source of business, where those who become beneficially interested either by joining in the plan at the outset or by later participation according to the terms of an arrangement seek to share an advantage of the union of their interests in the common enterprise. In Goldwater versus Altman, y'all should get this document. You should email the secretary. The Supreme Court specifically noted, quote, generally stated, a trust of this nature, which, there are trusts of other nature, is created wherever several persons transfer the legal title and properties to the trustee with complete power of management in such trustees, free from control from the creators of the trust and the trustee, and the discretion pay over the profits of the enterprise to the creators of the trust or the successors in interest. As thus defined, it is apparent that such a trust is created by the act of the parties and does not depend on statutory law for its validity. You got a lot of these offshore trust promoters. I don't think they understand this stuff. The law of trust is just as much a part of the legislative policy of the state as the law of limited partnerships and corporations. It is true that trusts historically were not used for the purpose of running large business enterprises and were a development of equity courts. The law, however, is not static, but is ever growing and expanding in recent years. This form of handling property has been extended to nearly every field of activity. Just because a new use has been made of the trust does not mean that new principles of law are to be applied in determining the rights of the trustees, the Cesque Trust, which is the beneficiaries, creditors of the trust, or others that deal with the trust. A further review of California Supreme Court appellate cases reveals that foreign and domestic unincorporated business trusts are completely valid and may hold real estate or participate in practically any legal investment. You can look up Mary Pickford Company versus Bailey Brothers Incorporated. That's probably one of the best ones that you can look at with regards to this. Also, generally speaking, the unincorporated business trust organization is a tremendous asset protecting device. The trust allows the property or business owner to transfer his or her business property into trust, which will be administered by a third-party trustee. Once the property is transferred into the trust, the original owner of the business does not retain any incidents of legal or equitable title to the property. Therefore, no creditor or internal revenue or agent can penetrate the trust property due to the fact that the original property owner no longer owns the property, but has transferred the subject property to the trust in exchange for which he or she has received trust certificate units. Pursuant to the trust agreement, the trust certificate units do not have any ascertainable value. Furthermore, the trust states that if the creditor, including the IRS, attempts to levy upon these certificate units, the trust certificate units become null and void and can be reissued by the trustees. And you want to have this language actually in the indenture itself. But you want to make sure that this is done properly, absolutely properly. Otherwise, you're going to have an issue. Let me do a couple citations of authority with regards to a business trust, and then I'm just going to wrap it up because I know I'm running late, y'all. I'm running late. So, for protection, a business trust derives no power, benefit, or privilege from any statute, according to Crocker versus Malley and Elliott versus Freeman. The few constitutional provisions that declare the term corporation shall be construed to include all associations having the powers of corporations not possessed by individuals, has not made the business trust illegal as held by State ex rel. Great American Home Savings versus Lee. There is sound legal evidence to support the fact that a true business trust is not an association and will not come under the Missouri constitutional provision. The U.S. Supreme Court states, quote, "We perceive no ground for grouping the two beneficiaries and trustees together in order to turn them into an association. By uniting their contrasted functions and powers, although they are in no proper sense associated. Trust property cannot be held under an attachment nor sold upon the execution of trustee personal debts. That's Hussey versus Arnold, Hussey versus Arnold. The trustees may decide to sell or trade trust assets or corpus to some outside third party. They might offer to trade all or any portion of those assets. The buyer or client may reject or accept the offer. If accepted on an arm's length transaction, they would transfer or assign the assets to the buyer on behalf of the organization. The buyer would then give the consideration to the trust estate representing the investment interest plus possible appreciation. If the consideration is cash, the trustees will put it into a trust bank account and control it along with the other assets. Tax-free initial exchange can be explained in the process of reviewing court decisions and IRS rulings. On the exchange's side, the trust certificates received had no reportable or determinable value to be declared. The trust organization received property at no gain or loss. If the same property is later sold, only the amount beyond the exchanger basis may be taxable as appreciated value in the assets. The property may be taxed on a taxable status when transferred into the trust organization, but any payment is deferred until distributed to the trust organization. Let me do two more. The courts have defined the meaning conveyed. The word exchange is to be given its ordinary meaning. It means giving one thing for another, requiring the transfer to be in kind and excluding monetary consideration as a basis for measure. Oh, we've got another one. Hill et al. Versus Reynolds. The character of trust for income tax purposes is dependent on phraseology of the trust instrument, whether it discloses a business trust. The United States Supreme Court ruled that if property received in exchange has no fair market value, it does not represent a taxable gain to the recipients. We also got Tyson versus Commissioner. Gift tax applies only to transfers by gift with less than full adequate consideration. Old Kent Bank and Trust Company versus the U.S. Federal estate tax is an excise tax on the transfer of interest in property that occurs as a result of death. So if you transfer the property before death, what do you think? And I'll do this one. And y'all should definitely get your hands on this document. but this will be the last one I do. This is Raymond Pearson Motor Company versus the commissioner, and that would be the IRS commissioner. Taxpayers are not required to continue that form of organization, which results in the minimum tax. Now, this guy, Robert Andrew Lund of Lebanon, Oregon, had the right idea. He just executed it incorrectly. He thought he had an offshore trust, which, oops, as well as he's telling me he's not a U.S. citizen. He's making all of these allegations, and all of this is happening after he's been assessed with the tax bill. Let me tell y'all something. If you're operating in a certain manner and you get a tax bill and you appeal it and the appeal court says that you owe the tax, pay the tax, man, and rearrange your affairs so that you, moving forward, don't incur any other taxes. That's called tax avoidance, which is completely legal. Tax evasion will get you in trouble. It'll get you in federal prison. But understanding the difference between a business trust and a family trust or an asset trust is very important. You know, you might be in trustee training. You got the business trust, asset trust, family trust. The business trust exists in contradistinction to the asset trust and the family trust. It absolutely does. If it's carrying on a business for profit, or if its purpose is to generate profit for the beneficiaries, that's a business trust. A family trust or asset trust is a trust where the trustees hold and manage assets and wealth or cash or whatever for the benefit of beneficiaries. These are two separate and distinct entities, both of which owe their existence to the common law right to contract, both of which are protected by the federal Constitution from impairment of the contract by any state legislature. Both of them, in fact, are trust. Both of them are administered by trustees, but the similarities begin to dissipate after that. And we must understand this. We must absolutely understand this. So, I trust that, I was able to explain some distinctions between private business trust and private family trust. I trust that I was able to, at least, kind of have the light bulb go off in your head as far as, some of the distinctions, some of the things that you may be missing, some of the things that you may be confused on, As I said, I was reading from a document predominantly that's available to you for free. All you have to do is email at secretary at, I was just going to say at welcometothefoundation.com, but that's not true. You got secretary at welcometothefoundation.com, and you will receive the document that I was reading from here on the show this evening. It's a great document. It's really, really dope, and I think that this document would have helped this guy had he had his hands on it back in '93, because that's when this guy restructured. So, and let this be a lesson. This guy restructured in 1993. From 1994 to 96, he reported almost no income on his personal tax returns. He bought a bunch of property, did a whole bunch of things. He was indicted in 2019. So from 1993 to 2019, this dude was doing his dance. He was operating this trust, or, he had his father administering this trust in a non-conducive manner. He was indicted in 2019. He pled guilty in 2021. So it's something to pay attention to. This man could have passed away in that time, and imagine what his heirs would have had to go through trying to, get their hands on this trust, trying to gain control of this trust. The IRS would have came through, the state would have came through, grabbing pieces of the trust, grabbing wealth. If it was my father that set up an estate and appointing me a successor trustee, and then the IRS came and started taking stuff, and the state came and started taking stuff of my dad's stuff, I would be very, very distraught and distressed. I would feel like I let my dad down. I would be very, very upset. And I wouldn't know that my dad didn't set the trust up correctly. I wouldn't know that my father and my grandfather or whoever else it wasn't administering the trust properly. I just would know that my father left this to me and I couldn't maintain it. I couldn't keep hold of it. I couldn't take care of it. So now for the rest of my life, I'm going to have to deal with the ideology that I let my father down after his death. That would suck, man. And, this is a big reason why I'm so passionate about educating y'all with trust administration, to teaching y'all the foundation of this economic system, which is trust and trust law. Because this journey that you're embarking on is going to consist of multiple generations. You're talking about children and parents and nieces and nephews and aunts and uncles and so on and so forth. Ancestors. People's hopes, people's dreams, people's hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, energy exchanged on this planet that they'll never get back. They were hoping and praying was going to be passed with very little issues to their heirs. But unfortunately, due to misinformation, due to not understanding public and private, due to sovereign citizen mumbo jumbo, there's a lot of people who have the correct idea in mind, but do not possess the correct education to execute that idea, to bring that idea to fruition. So I think it's important to understand, that not only are you putting yourself at risk by improperly setting up your private estate or improperly administering your private estate, you're putting those who care about you, who you care about, who look up to you, who value your opinion and value what you did, in a precarious situation. And this is the impetus, this is part of the reason behind my passion, of bringing this information, making these distinctions, pancaking these toes, making it very difficult for these scammers and gurus to get your fiat currency. I want it to be like, well, you're going to sell me the trust, but are you going to teach me how to administer it? That should be the question. Most people think, once I have the structure, I'm all good. No, you must know how to properly administer these structures. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. This man set up his trust in 1993. He's about to do 4 years in federal prison in 2021. This is not a game. $1.7 million. Federal, 70,000. State, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of wealth, man. So ultimately, I would do myself a favor. I would email me, admin at welcometothefoundation.com, and inquire with regards to trustee training. Don't fall for it. You're going to get. And this is the reason why. And, it's important to not only look at information that coincides or parrots what you believe and what you want. It's also important to look at information that says you're wrong, that may not be very flattering to what you're trying to do. You know? And that's what we do. You know, looking at Supreme Court cases is important. You got to know, what did they do to make this mistake? Was there improper administration? Was the inception of the trust corrupted? What's going on? What did they do? What happened? So that we can know, you know? So that we're not in fear. We're not scared. And, you know, we're not being able to be accused or it be alleged that we're evading taxes or something of that nature. Understanding, you know, proper trust administration, understanding proper distinctions between, you know, a private trust that is a business trust and a private trust that is a family trust is very important, you know? So, you know, this is our passion over here. We also get into business, setting up businesses, business credit, you know, we get into finance, we get into, you know, real money, tangible assets, things of that nature. But I mean, the core is setting up your private estate. I don't care what you say. Your birth certificate, I got a state seal on it. You title your assets, your vehicle, your real estate, your property. You title that, and in that name that has a state seal on it, then that belongs to the state. You got to get these titles. You have to get your property outside of state titles. Birth certificate. It's a state title. It's a state title. If you title it in that name, it is ultimately titled to the state. I don't care what you say. Prove me wrong. Corporations, you title it in the corporation. Well, so I title my stuff in the corporation. The corporation, it receives this charter from the state. It's authorized to do business in the state by the state. It is a creature of the state. Same thing with the LLC. Same thing with the partnership. Limited partnership, limited liability. I don't care what it is. They are all authorized by the state. They're creatures of the state. The birth certificate, it is a creature of the state. Oh, it's the all-cap name. It's the straw man. It's the debtor. It's the exemptor. Look, I don't care. It's a creature of the state. It's a creature of the state. Well, as regards to my capacity and my standing versus, I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to get into that because you are the only one that may or may not have capacity or standing with regards to that creature of the state, that birth certificate. What about your children? What about your nieces and nephews? Your job is, once you get this information, is to act on it and to create private structures that are not creatures of the state, that are creatures essentially of the common law right to contract, that are governed and administered by your heirs, you and your heirs, outside of statutory authority. That's your job. Now, whether you choose to accept and complete that job is 100% on you. You got to sleep with yourself at night. You got to wake up and look at yourself in the mirror. Or maybe you don't. I don't know. But if you can't understand and put together what this is, I don't know what to tell you. You know, book a consultation. Let's have a conversation. It's really, really important as far as I'm concerned. So, you know, I appreciate y'all checking out the show. I will not be taking any calls. This was a long show. You know, it's jam-packed. I suggest you download it. I suggest you check it out maybe once or twice, you know. And I suggest you email me, admin@welcometothefoundation.com, and inquire with regards to trustee training. I suggest you go to welcometothefoundation.com and sign up for the email list so you can get access to the exclusive offers. There's an exclusive offer right now, and that's all I will say. If you're an email list subscriber, you are exclusive here at the foundation. The only higher exclusivity that can be reached here at the foundation is being a trustee in trustee training. So there's almost none above you. A few trustees, that's about it. Y'all email subscribers, y'all are the bomb. Y'all listeners, y'all are the bomb. I want to say I thank you. I appreciate you. You know, I had no idea when I started off here on High Frequency Radio Network that I would still be here in 2021, about to turn into 2022. Wow, it's been an amazing journey, and I really appreciate y'all. But my whole impetus, my point, my purpose is to reestablish the foundational education and understanding of this system, commerce, education, finance, whatever. Reestablish this foundation, because the foundation we were given was flawed and it was cracked and it was not solid. So with that being said, I appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all checking out the show. Definitely do. Appreciate you checking out every show. I trust that you were able to pick up something of what I put down, learn something, you know, obtain a new perspective that you did not possess beforehand. Whatever it is, I trust that there's been an impact, positive impact. Trustfully in the way you think, and let that furrow down into an impact in your life. You know, that's what I trust. That's the purpose of this. You know, I'm trying to empower y'all for real, because once you get this stuff, once it clicks, oh, you are a formidable opponent. And most of the times they will just leave you alone, straight up. So, you know, that's it. Private business trust versus private family trust. I appreciate y'all checking out the show. You know, y'all have a great week. I will be here next week. I do got some stuff going on, but I do my best to make time every single week for y'all to do this, you know, the show. We call it The Foundation here on High Frequency Radio Network. And, you know, we're just going to keep it moving. It's becoming a new year. I suggest y'all stock up on food. If you can find pasta, get it. If you can find rice, get it. You know, find some from them cans of Spam. I grew up poor. I don't know if y'all remember, but my family, we would get commodities from the government cheese, that really nasty milk, the really nasty powdered milk. I mean, it would ruin any cereal that you put that stuff on. It would ruin it. I remember I would be so upset with being poor. So upset. But I'm going to tell you this. We have an impending food crisis that's going to come. I'm telling you, because the energy crisis is happening right now. The prices of energy is rising. There's lack of energy, blah, 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 blah. Well, energy is absolutely necessary to create food. Food production is dependent on energy. So we're going to see more and more shortages in food, more and more unavailable food products. Get your hands on as much pasta as you can. Don't go crazy. Don't overcharge your credit cards. Be calm. Be specific. Be pragmatic and relax. But focus. Stock up on pastas. Stock up on rice. Wild rice if you can find it. Stock up on some canned goods. Stock up on crackers. Mayonnaise. We used to eat mayonnaise and crackers for dinner. I used to eat mayonnaise and crackers for dinner. I will never forget what it was like to not have anything. Anything. At all. Mayonnaise and crackers, y'all. So those of you who remember, if you grew up in poverty, you know, look, we might be having these thin times coming again. You know, I don't want to scare anybody. I just want you to be prepared. I want you to be prepared. So you should have a pantry of food, you know, and you should rotate that food. You shouldn't let it sit there. You know, food goes bad over time. So don't get a whole bunch of food that you don't eat. Get the food that you eat. Put it in your pantry. When you buy, let's say you buy some pasta. Put the pasta in your pantry. Buy some more pasta, put it in your pantry. Buy some more pasta, put it in your pantry. And then use the pasta out of your pantry. But use the stuff that you bought first. Use the oldest stuff first, and then kind of rotate it out. Spaghetti sauces. Pick meals that are quick and easy and pretty cheap. Rice, I'll say some Spam. I don't eat meat, but if I get hungry enough, I'm gonna eat some meat, player. I'm not playing with you. Rice, Spam, pasta sauces, and bread. Get yeast. Get your hands on some yeast. I would suggest you learn how to make bread. Learn how to make bread. Learn how to make some pasta. But look, I'm telling y'all, trust me. And for the OG listeners, you know that I don't say something unless I'm absolutely sure. We're gonna have food shortages coming up. We're just hitting the tip of the iceberg right now. So get ready. Is our swaths of the population gonna die of starvation? Nah, man, this is America. Let's be serious. People got too many guns for that to happen. You know what I mean? But it's gonna get tight for a lot of people. And money problems, and then vicariously, subsequently, food issues are the biggest relationship issues in the world. You have so she may be talking mess right now because you buying extra pasta, you buying extra sauce, you buying extra rice, you buying Spam. She may be talking mess now, but next year, she's going to tell you that you're really smart. Vice versa. He might be talking crazy because you're buying all this extra stuff now, but by this time next year, he's going to be thanking you and saying that you're very smart for having, the foresight to do this. If nothing happens, you got some extra food that you're going to eat anyways. If something happens, you're good. But inflation's still going to be kicking in, so I would say, and this is what I'm doing, I'm not putting off purchases. I'm buying the things that I want. Like if I was thinking I'm going to buy something next year, I'm buying it now. I bought a used little SUV. I bought it now instead of later because it's going to be more expensive later, and it just doesn't make sense. Don't buy things that you wouldn't buy or you're not going to buy, but if you're putting off purchasing something, grab it now. Grab it now. And get your hands on some food. Learn how to grow indoors. Put a pot in your south-facing window and plant some basil or some oregano or something that you use. Tomatoes, they're pretty easy to grow. Tomatoes, potatoes, they're easy to grow inside. You can grow that stuff inside. If you got south-facing windows, people who don't have south-facing windows will swear to God that you have a green thumb. Like, yo, did you go to agriculture school? Like, nah, just light over here. South-facing windows. Plant some stuff. Plant some tomatoes. Plant some potatoes. You like jalapenos? Plant them joints. They grow inside. Trust me, I know for a fact. Basil, it grows inside. Mint, it'll grow inside. Potatoes, peppers, all of these things. Coriander, thyme, all this stuff, it'll grow inside. Just, reduce your dependency on the public. I don't need that much food from you. Maybe get some solar panels. I don't need that much energy. I can charge my phone. I don't need you to charge my phone. Start with your phone. Get a solar panel. Little solar panel, $20, Amazon, $40. Start with your phone. I don't need you to charge my phone. I don't need the grid. And keep going. But whatever you can do to reduce your dependency on the public, as well as reduce the public's reach into your private lives. And this is why we do this show, The Foundation, here on High Frequency Radio Network. So I appreciate y'all checking out the show. I appreciate y'all being here. If you're an OG, I appreciate you. If you're brand new, what's up? How you doing? Nice to meet you. We're gonna be the best of friends. So make sure you check out WelcomeToTheFoundation.com. You got the Passport No Social, Part 1, Part 2. We got the Foundation Trust Primer for the beginners, Foundation Trust Series for those who are just after the beginners. Once you sign up for the email list, we got exclusive offers and content. You can find the Instagram, Twitter pages, the Facebook page. You can book a consultation, make a donation. I would just say hit the PDF section and sign up for the email list. Off top. Off tippy. But, I definitely look forward to connecting with you on whatever medium that you feel most comfortable with. But with that being said, I trust that y'all will have a great week. I want y'all to enjoy yourselves, take care of yourselves, Make sure you say 10 things that you're thankful for before you go to sleep tonight and every night, because it is important. And I will catch you next week here on the hottest radio network on the planet, High Frequency Radio Network. My name is Sot L, Seeker of Truth L, Speaker of Truth L, and it has been my pleasure to invest this time with you here on the foundation. And until next time, peace to the gods.
Doing this thing all the way live. High Frequency Radio.